What is up, and welcome to A Look Behind the Curtain with Chris. This YouTube channel was created to answer the two questions I get the most, which are, is digital marketing real, and are people having success with it? And to really provide a look behind the curtain to the viewer and the people who are interested so that they know really what it takes to get started and some of the actual struggles that are involved in building an online business. I know that it's really popular on social media to see everyone standing in front of fancy sports cars and big houses and flashing cash and travel. But what does it really take to be able to live that lifestyle? And that's what we want to dive into. Those are the stories that we're going to share. And every week I'm going to bring out a new guest, and we're going to dive into, their success, the things that they had to go through to get to it, their story, their journey. And hopefully you, the viewer, can, pull some inspiration, motivation, and even some techniques or principles from these stories and apply them into your life and business to have the same results or even better results than the people we're interviewing or myself or anyone else in the industry who you've seen and has ultimately brought you to this video. So without further ado, let's kick off the episode. Well, Arjan, welcome to the show. I really appreciate you joining me for this interview today.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here.
So, yeah, absolutely. I like to start the show basically with a backstory. So, who are you? Where are you from? A little bit about maybe your schooling, your business life. When you started becoming an entrepreneur. I'll let you take it away from here.
Sounds good. So, I'm from Canada. I grew up in Ontario. And Toronto is my home base right now. And so what got me started in entrepreneurship, I'm going to rewind back to my early life. So coming up in school, I had a pretty rough go. When I was about 6 years old, my parents split up and remarried. And by the age of 9, I moved away from the country. I was living in the country, and we moved to the suburbs. And I had a really rough time in school. I got picked on and bullied a lot. And I found that there just wasn't a great deal of support from the school system, from the educational institution. And I always had really big ideas. I was a very creative person from a young age. And so coming up in school, I always had these visions of my future as being something that I was sort of in the pilot seat. I thought of opening restaurants. I thought of opening art galleries. I had all these ideas. And one day in grade 5, these career specialists came into the school, and it was their job. They said, we're going to tell you what you're going to do when you grow up. So they got us to write this essay on, what we wanted to do. And I was an 11-year-old boy at the time, and I just discovered paintball. And so I thought, wow, this is just so cool, right? And my essay was on a business that I wanted to create. So I thought, well, I live in the suburbs where there's nothing to do. Kids are bored. They're getting themselves into trouble because they don't have any recreation. Why don't I save up some money, buy some cheap farmland, and open up a paintball field? And from that, that was just a great idea for me at the time, because I get to do what I love. I get to hire other people to run the business for me so that I can have the freedom and flexibility to move around, and I'd be providing a good service for the community, right? And so that was sort of a defining moment for me in my life, because I presented this idea to these specialists, and they said, oh, this will never work. Paintball making machines cost $1 million. And they just sort of shot holes in my idea. And then they said, well, don't worry, though. You're going to be a really good lawyer when you grow up. That's your career path, lawyer. And so right there, that was it for me. I said, this school system is not for me. I'm a creator. I don't want to be someone else's employee. I don't want someone else telling me what I'm going to do. And so that was the moment when I decided to actually drop out of school. Now, I couldn't drop out of school in grade 5. The cops would have just dragged me kicking and screaming back. So it was a couple of years of struggling through that system before I finally checked out. And that was a rough decision, because my parents didn't accept it, obviously. And so I ended up kicked out of the house and on the streets around age 13. So I spent my teenage years traveling around Canada, getting myself into all kinds of trouble, living on the streets, just sort of roughing it, learning what the world was like from the other end of the spectrum, right? And so that ultimately made me very sick. I got really sick, and mentally, emotionally, physically just drained from the whole experience. But I learned a lot. And I learned a lot about what it was like to suffer, and what type of challenges people go through in the various different systems of the world that sort of fail people in a lot of cases. And that led me to my first entrepreneurial endeavor as a health and wellness practitioner. So I spent my 20s studying yoga and meditation and various different holistic wellness practices to become a practitioner, and built a fairly thriving practice in my late 20s. I really was doing quite well down in the city in Toronto where I was living, helping people live healthier lives, helping people learn more about diet and their bodies and how to take care of themselves. And that was going really well. And I thought that would be my career for the rest of my life. That was sort of my vision. And I think I always had a vision of that being something a little bit bigger, but I didn't know how it was going to happen. And then a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, I met a woman and we fell in love, and I moved way up north, away from the city and away from my client base. And that was a very challenging experience. And what I realized is that my wellness and my career, my own personal wellness, my financial well-being was contingent upon me being exposed to a large audience in the major metropolitan center of Toronto. And my career just sort of went down the drains. And as it did, money problems came up, the relationship struggled, and ultimately fell apart. And at the end of that sort of 3-year period, I realized that something really, really had to change, because I was dependent on circumstances that I couldn't control. And I wanted more freedom. I wanted more freedom of time. I wanted more freedom to travel. And that's when I discovered the world of online marketing and realized that I could create a business online and run it from anywhere. And I could take my time back. And that for me was a really big factor in my decision to come to the digital marketing space. But another thing that really sunk in when I found this industry was I realized that bigger vision that I had, it wasn't a pipe dream. I wanted to open up retreat centers. I wanted to open up wellness resorts and things like that. And I know that things like that cost millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never knew, when I was just trading my time for money, hours for dollars, massaging people, giving people treatments. I was getting paid really good money, but there was no way that I could do that every day for the rest of my life and not have enough money to open up these centers. And so when I discovered the online space and I realized the kind of abundance that people were creating in a very short period of time, all of a sudden these goals that I had relegated to the realm of pipe dream became very real. And I saw the pathway towards the path and the mechanism by which I was going to create my vision and what ultimately I feel like I'm here on planet Earth to do. It's my mission, my job in the world is to create these spaces. So that's a little bit of my backstory. And how I came to the online space.
Yeah, awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that. I've known you for a little while now, and I didn't really grasp the whole reality of the struggle you went through as a younger child, being homeless and running around the streets as a teen. I didn't realize that, you had gone through all that struggle. I know you did have, your struggles in your past, but man, it's so great to get to talk to you and hear that and know where you are today. It's amazing, and it's a testament that anybody from any background and any environment can become successful and change the course of their lives. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because it gave me goosebumps honestly listening to it. That was really inspiring. So we've known each other for a little while now in the online space. We both belong to the same community and help each other, that community and each other to unified success. But when I met you, you were actually traveling around the U.S., Canada, and kind of, doing your little freedom thing. So do you want to share with me a little bit, what made you want to travel like that? What was the purpose, and kind of what did you, experience while you were doing that?
Yes. Okay. So over the last 2.5 months, I've been traveling around the continent. And one of the main reasons I wanted to do that was because I haven't had a lot of freedom in my life. When I was growing up, when I turned 16, my parents told me, "Oh, you can't use our car." And so I never got my driver's license. And that was always a really big pain point for me. I saw my friends going through a natural coming of age when they got their cars and they got to drive around and have that freedom. And I never had that. And so as soon as I was able to, first of all, I'll rewind a bit to the business, and that I around around May of last year, things really started or the May of this year, sorry, things started to really pick up for me. I started to make a lot of money in my online business. And for me, it was right away, I'm like, I need to get a car. I need to have that freedom. And so that's what I did. I bought my dream car, or one of them, I should say. I just wanted to go and experience the sort of the other side, because there's a lot of sitting in front of a computer and, building things and running traffic and monitoring and making sure everything's running smoothly. And I wanted to sort of, I'm doing this for myself so that I can have the freedom, and for other people so I can give back to the world. But I wanted to enjoy some of that freedom. So I hopped in the car and drove out to Las Vegas. We drove out across my roommate and I, who's also a member of our community. We drove out to Calgary and met up with some other online marketers there, and drove down to Las Vegas for the Elite Summit, for this business conference that you know about.
Yep.
So it was just about exercising my freedom for the most part, but I also wanted to create a story. I wanted to show people what's possible. In this industry, my niche is the online space. So I'm actually promoting products and services that help people to establish their own businesses online, or to take their own business to the online space if it already exists. And so I wanted to demonstrate to my audience that this is for real. This is what I'm actually doing. This is the life I am living. It's not just talk. And there's a lot of other people out there too. And so I'd hoped to capture a lot of content and a lot of other stories. But that didn't really work out as well as I had planned. I didn't have all the equipment necessary. So this was sort of the maiden voyage. And the plan is to sort of come back to the lab and reinvest and build things up, and then come back out with a little bit more of a team to help create all that content. Because it can be challenging when you're the only person, when you're sort of the solo entrepreneur, or the solopreneur, as we sometimes hear. You're everybody. You're the accountant, you're the videographer, you're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the you're the brain behind everything, and that can be really taxing. And so that was a big learning experience for me. I started to realize that as I leveled up, I can't be everybody. I have to start delegating and bringing some other people on board. And it was another really good learning experience was the difference between spending and investing. And so I used up a lot of my marketing budget in the travels, and that actually brought me down a little bit. It brought me back to sort of square one, where I had to come back to the lab and pour more of that financial energy back into the systems that I've built, so that I can ultimately leap forward again. So big learning experience. I met a lot of people. And one of the things that really hit home for me was the value of investing in experiences and in time with other people. Mm-hmm. So although some of the systems that I have running that are where my money's coming from, they took a bit of a hit because I wasn't reinvesting all of the profit. I invested in a different way in having these opportunities to meet people out at live events. And ultimately that led to a really amazing business partnership with some people who are doing amazing things and helping entrepreneurs, people like you and I, get the funding that they need for their businesses, which is sort of, there's two main components. You need the system. You need the system and the support so that you can have the skills and the education and the people around you that are going to help you to create the business. But on the other side, a lot of entrepreneurs risk their home, they risk their personal credit, they put themselves on the line in order to launch that business. So that's an exciting development that happened as a result of taking that risk. And and now here I am back at home, ready to rebuild and level up.
Yeah, dude, and that's really cool. You went on a journey, and maybe you didn't hit the exact goal you were looking for, but you achieved a lot of other things in the process. And I just want to hit on that really quick because you kind of hit a chord with me with the getting started in business and the financing thing. I had to put myself into personal debt. I had to take out that loan against myself and borrow money from family for down payments and really work the whole financing thing to get this business started. And I think what you're doing is so crucial for this marketplace because there are so many people who see the benefit of coming online, whether they already own a brick and mortar or they want to get started with their own online business. They see the benefit, but they just don't know how to go about getting the funds to get started. So it's really awesome that you're linking arms with that other group of people. And you guys are, bringing this to any entrepreneur who is looking to really have that financing, have that ability to not worry about the capital so much and just focus on building the business. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I personally had to struggle through that. So the fact that you are actively out there trying to prevent that is really cool to me, I think, man. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the game I'm in, is, problem solving. Like, there's that's what we do as entrepreneurs, is we solve people's problems, and our income directly reflects that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know myself, I that was my situation too. No banks would give me a loan or credit, because I was actually on disability when I started this business. And so they give you just enough. They give you just enough on disability that you don't die.
Yeah.
They don't give you enough to, to really get by and to get back up off your feet. I didn't have the support of family. My family wanted to support me, but they weren't able to. And so for me, like, that was a big challenge. It's a challenge that I still face. If I'd had the funding in the beginning, I'd be, I'd be a lot further along than I am right now.
Yeah.
So that's a problem that I want to help people solve, is to get the funds so that they can actually launch their business. Like, it doesn't matter how good of a rocket ship you have. It doesn't matter if you're driving a McLaren F1. You need to put gas in the tank or it goes nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can have the most amazing system in the whole world, but if it doesn't have the fuel and the energy, then it's just sitting stationary. And what happens to a machine? The worst thing for any kind of machine is to just sit idle. It wants to be used. It wants to be running, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just reminds me of a meme I'm seeing like all the time right now online, where it's like, oh, you want to start an online business? Oh, wait, it actually costs money to run a business? Like, it's like the Forrest Gump's face, and he's all like confused. Like, wait, it costs money to run a business? Like, what do you mean that? Like, yeah, there's always a little bit of an overhead, even if it's something as simple as, the filing fee for your DBA, your doing business as form. There's always going to be some sort of cost involved with starting a business, which is why, having the ability to, if you don't have that money in your pocket or the ability to get it, get those funds, what you're doing is so crucial. And another thing that you had mentioned in your talk about your travels is helping businesses with their online presence. So not even just, starting up a whole new business, which is awesome. You and I both have done that to great success in this last year or so. But to be able to take an existing brick and mortar business or an existing offer and really help those people to up their online presence, to really, get their message in front of where the eyes are, which is social media platforms and Google searches and the online space. Because people aren't watching, and you understand this, people aren't watching advertisements on TV or radio or billboards. I mean, yeah, they drive past them, but they're not paying attention to them. Their attention is on screens. A little screen in their hand is 90% of their attention. So that's where we got to put the offers. That's where we got to put the things that are going to benefit their lives. And, we understand that. And it's really cool that you're out there actively helping businesses to gear towards that and bring their offer to where the eyes are, man. Awesome.
Yeah. It's absolutely essential, and like, we're moving into a digital age. It's only getting more. Things are only getting more digital. Things are only getting more technological. And I think a lot of people are struggling and suffering to understand the changes that are happening. Even the big guys, like even the big advertising agencies, they haven't even really hit online yet. When they do, it's going to be a lot harder for the average Joe to get out there, right? But it's absolutely essential, whether you're an artist, a musician, a small business owner, whatever it is that you're doing in the world is becoming a digital world, and we need to learn these skills. We need to understand the landscape in order to be effective and to be efficient and to reach the people who need our products, our services, our message, whatever it may be. So I think that this digital revolution that's happening is relevant to everybody. It's not just about digital marketers. It's about the way that the world is transforming. And I think it's relevant to anybody who wants to have any kind of influence, whatever that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I transition into the next question, I just want to emphasize on something you just said again. The big advertisers, the big companies, Coca-Cola, all your Madison advertising, all the big names that we've all known for decades and decades, they haven't figured out the online game yet. They haven't figured out how to get their message and their presence in front of people like we've learned to do already. So right now, in my opinion, and I'm sure Arjan, you can voice your opinion on this, is the better time than ever to join in, because you have tools, resources, and communities that can help you to get your ad in front of those people and get the success you're looking for quickly. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. There is work involved and there's effort needed, but much quicker than what we're used to in the industry standard. And you're not competing with these huge companies because they haven't figured it out yet. So right now, if you can get in, you have all the resources in place to make sure you're successful, and you're not competing with the big dogs because they're not in it yet. So you can get in before that happens and really start to capitalize and get ahead of the game. So I just wanted to emphasize on that. And I don't know, maybe you have a thought on it or not. I don't know.
I share your opinion. I think that now really is the time. And you said something that's important. It's like, it's not going to happen right away. Nothing happens overnight. But now is the time. There's a window. It's not like this opportunity is not going to be here forever, because people have to understand that when those big guys actually catch up, when they realize what's happening, that nobody's looking at their billboards, nobody's looking at the television anymore, everyone's on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. When they realize that, and they pour billions of dollars into these advertising platforms, that's going to significantly increase the cost to put your products, services, advertisements in front of other people. And it's going to drown the marketplace with their message. So it's going to be very, very difficult for, I think anyways, that it's going to be very difficult for average people to really gain online momentum when that happens. And I don't know what the timeline is. I would say that to get started today, in permaculture, which is an agricultural practice that I'm passionate about, we have a saying: the best time to plant trees is 10 years ago. The next best time is right now. And I think that applies to the online space. Is like, if you got started 10 years ago, you'd be a multimillionaire by now, probably, but the next best time is right now, before the big guys come in and make it difficult. There's still an opportunity, maybe a couple of years, maybe 10 years tops before that happens and they flood the space. And then all of a sudden, the playing field is no longer level, and there's no longer the opportunity for everyday people to maximize their online presence.
Yeah. And, I know for a fact they're already looking for ways in. A mutual friend of ours, multi-seven-figure earner, they reached out to him, and a big company, big drink company, reached out to him and was, willing to pay him 7 figures to show them how he does what he does. So they're out there and they're willing to spend the big money, but people like us who are, just a regular entrepreneur trying to make it, we're not willing to give those secrets away, because that would literally take every one of us out of the game. And, we have the advantage right now. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we have the advantage right now. And it's never been easier for the everyday Joe to start a business and make significant money. And if we were to turn around, and when I say we, I mean online entrepreneurs as a group, if we were to turn around and then hand the keys to the kingdom to one of these billion-dollar companies, they're going to start throwing those billions of dollars into the system, which is going to wash us out. So, kudos to him with living in integrity, wanting us to succeed and not giving it away to the big guy. Technically we call that selling your soul. But, not everyone's going to live in that level of integrity. Not everyone's going to say, no, the little man needs a chance to succeed. Someone might say, oh, you want to give me, $100 million to teach you this? Sure, give me the money and here you go. Eventually that's going to happen. So I can't agree with you more. 10 years ago would have been optimal, but today is just as good.
Yeah. I just want to, before you move on, there's one thing that I just thought of that I think we have working for us, and that is that, one, like you pointed out, there's a lot of integrity, there's a lot of camaraderie and kinship in this industry, which was something that blew me away. When I came to online advertising, I thought, oh my God, this is a competitive field. We're all going to be beating each other up and nobody wants to teach you how to do it. And it was the polar opposite of that. I met people who were so friendly and helpful and eager to share their knowledge and wisdom. And that, if I'd known that, that's another thing that would have got me started sooner. So that's something that's going for us. But I think another thing that is an interesting paradigm shift that's happening in the world is I believe that everyday people are sick and tired of being sold garbage that's not real. Like so-called reality television, it's anything but real. And I think that what people are really craving deep inside of their hearts and souls is honest connection with one another. And so that's one of the things that I think, one of the reasons why these advertising agencies haven't had success. And I've seen them try. Before I even got started online, every now and then I would see a McDonald's ad pop up on YouTube or something weird like that. But they just didn't get the traction. And I think the reason is because social media is social. It's not orchestrated by some top heavy system, a bunch of CEOs way up here. It's coming from the ground up. And so that's one of the reasons why I think this movement has a lot of momentum and perhaps also some resiliency, even when those guys do get involved. But there's no question about it that when that money comes to the marketplace, it is going to affect things.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to, obviously you and I probably could just keep going on this forever because it's really relevant in what's going on right now in the market for us. But I kind of want to transition and talk a little bit more about your personal journey. When you were first getting started online, what were, some of the obstacles that you had hit? And then you overcame. How did you overcome them to ultimately get to the success you have today?
Okay. So initially, it was the perception of technical difficulties. And I say the perception because it turned out that was not a reality. I would have gotten started online 4 years ago when I first started seeing ads. I remember watching a TED Talk, and it was a TED Talk by Gary Vaynerchuk talking about the digital revolution that's happening and how anybody can start a business these days, no matter what they're into, no matter how weird and niche it is. You got the whole internet. And so that planted a seed in me, but he didn't really offer any other, there was no action steps to take. He was just talking about it, right? And then I started seeing ads popping up. And, the first ad that I ever saw that really dinged me was this guy was out in a boat in the ocean in Thailand. And I love the beach. I love tropical weather. I'm like, that's where I want to be. That's my happy place, right? Another reason I do this is because that's where I want to be. And this guy was talking about how he runs a business online on his computer. And he's like, it's still work. It's not like, I still have to work every day, but I have the freedom to travel. And at the end of the video, I remember he got up and he just jumped off the boat and swam away. And I'm like, oh man, that's great. Good for him. But some little voice in my head said, he knows computers. You don't know computers. So that guy can do it because he's a computer programmer. I'm probably not a computer programmer, but that's what I said inside of my mind. I'm like, these guys, they know how to do these things. I can't learn. And so it took me years before someone actually took out their computer in one of these videos and said, look, this is how I do it. It's easy. And that's what got me started. So that was a leading in, that was one of the mental perceptions. And as soon as I got on board, I realized that was a delusion. It wasn't real. It was like, I didn't know how to use these tools, but I learned. It wasn't that hard. For me, the biggest challenge of all was actually my life circumstances. I was in this relationship that was falling apart. I didn't have a lot of money. And so I had to sort of beg, borrow, and steal the money that I needed to get started. Figuratively speaking, I didn't actually steal anything from anybody, but that's kind of what it felt like. And so just not having enough funds in the beginning to really test properly. So I would try out an ad sequence, and it wouldn't do as well as I thought. I'd lose money. I went and bought some traffic from a traffic provider that was selling phony clicks and things like that. So I made a bunch of mistakes, and for me, so it was just the financial was a big challenge. I didn't have the gas in my tank, but I just kept going because right away in month 1, I made my first sale without even trying. I thought that the product I was selling was kind of half baked. I'm like, it's kind of, I don't know if anyone's going to buy this or not. I didn't know anything about Facebook ads or targeting or any of that stuff. I hadn't even gone through any of the training in Facebook ads. I was just throwing stuff at the internet. Let's see what sticks. And I made a $25 sale within I think 15 days. But I spent $250 to make that sale. But right away I knew, I was like, wow, okay, this works. I just need to figure out how to optimize it and fine tune it so that I'm profitable, right? But then I lost about $20,000 over the course of the next 6 months. So that was and I don't even want to use the word lost, because that's another mental flaw that can get in people's way. It's like I invested as much money as quickly as I could in learning what didn't work. In trial and error. And that's something that I think I see people who do come to this space struggle with, is the idea of losing money. And it's going to happen. Not every ad sequence is going to work. You're not going to hit it, right off the bat. Sometimes people hit a home run right when they step up to the plate, but that's not the average experience. So that's what helped me get through that, was just persistence and knowing if I keep doing this, eventually I will eliminate all of the mistakes. Eventually I will eliminate everything that doesn't work, and I will find what does work, and it will pay off, thousands of times what I lost in the beginning. So That was the challenge for me. It was just money, and the people around me in my life was a big thing too. I really had to reorient myself. The relationship I was in fell apart, and that was a good thing. I weeded my life out. I look at my life like a garden, and there was a bunch of weeds growing in my garden, in the form of people who were going in different directions as I was, people who had a lot of unhealthy belief systems and habits, and people who ultimately didn't really support me in my vision and my quest for a better life for me and service to the world in a bigger way. So I had to make some tough choices and say, I need to make space for people who are going to support me on my journey and people who are going to uplift and inspire me instead of dragging me down. So those are some of the things that I experienced. A lot of backlash too. When I started to get success, I started to, the haters started to show up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an unapologetic person. I'm a bit of an instigator, I think. I kind of, I'm kind of brash and a little bit crude in the way that I express myself. I don't sugarcoat things anymore. I'm not trying to pretend anything. So I think that has. That also has a bearing. That's a factor in the type of backlash I get from people.
Mm-hmm.
But that I think is a sign of success, as I'm sure that when you start to really succeed, there are going to be those people who it's so drastically different than their paradigm that they feel threatened and they feel the need to attack others who are changing their lives.
Yeah, no doubt. If you don't have haters, you're not making enough of an impact. And it's fine, I understand that everyone can only understand things from their point of view, their perception. And sometimes when things like you just said are so drastically, radically different than what you believe and have believed for so long, then yeah, you're going to challenge it and you're going to act aggressively, we'll call it, But on the other end of that, I'll just be honest, the amount of people that we actually get to help and benefit that reach back out to us and say, hey, thank you, make all the crap we put up with from the haters worth it.
Yeah. It's 10 times, it's 10x. It's like the people who are benefiting, the people who are giving positive feedback, the people who are being uplifted, it's 10 times the others, right? So it's a winning equation for sure.
Yeah. It's we do have the haters, but that they're not nearly, like you were saying, not nearly as frequent as the people who are actually, taking interest, using the information, and then reaching back out to us and being like, thank you.
Mm.
Crazy.
There's one thing that I think is worth mentioning for the benefit of anybody who's watching this and considering getting started online, because this is a question that comes up for me. I'm fairly open about what's going on in my life and my business. I'm fairly open on social media. Like I talk about these things because I think that that's something I want to help eliminate internet bullying and things like that. So I don't, I'll have conversations on my social media about this, but sometimes people ask me and they say, I don't think I could do this because I couldn't take that kind of abusive behavior coming at me. And that's a barrier for them. And I always like to tell those people, it's like, you don't have to be all over social media to run an online business. There are plenty of people who are doing incredible work, making tons and tons and tons of money, and nobody even sees them. Nobody even knows who they are. And so that's worth mentioning because it's not necessary to put yourself way out there on social media. For people who are more private and reserved, you can still run a business online without having to put your face and your name all over it. What happened to me is that's where I was at the beginning too. I was shy, and it took me a whole year before I came out on my public profiles and told people what I was doing because I wanted to make sure I had the results before I did it. But it's not necessary. You can do it behind the scenes in such a way that nobody is ever going to see it. I think though that when you start to get those results and momentum, that then you're going to want to. That was for me. I was like, when I started to see it and it was for real and it worked, then I just wanted to tell everybody, and it was worth a little bit of backlash from some people.
Yeah, and it's a great point, and I'm really I'm glad that you brought that up because you see so many of us, especially in our community, we brand ourselves. We become the brand, the product, and then we sell using our experiences, our life, and everything else. Basic attraction marketing. But there is that what we call the super affiliate or the behind, just a regular affiliate who literally is just the middleman. You never even see their face. All they're doing is connecting an audience to the offer, which is the core of what we do, you never even see their face. Matter of fact, number one affiliate for AWOL is that person. You never see his face. And he, we're not going to talk numbers because that's his business, but he makes a shit ton of money and you never even know who he is.
Yeah.
And, so it's absolutely a possibility. You don't have to be, constantly in front of the camera like I like to be. I like, and it goes back to what you were just saying, Arjan. I feel a responsibility at this point to know where I was, miserable, suffering from PTSD, barely seeing my family, to live the life I do now where I get to travel and do what I want when I want and take my family with me. Not have to worry about bills. Like, to be able to do these things, yes, I feel an absolute responsibility to share that with anybody who's interested in learning how to do it as well. So yeah, I put myself out there all the time, but like you were saying, not a necessity. Awesome point. Awesome point. So let me ask you, what are some of the things that you get to do now that the successes of your online business allow you to do now that were kind of the dreams when you first got started? When we first get started, it's like you look at this, what it's capable of, and you're like, oh, this is what my life's going to look like when I get there. What are some of the successes that you've been able to hit in that vision?
So a big one for me is I get to drive a BMW now, which is like, I just love it, man.
From no license and no car to straight to a BMW. I love it.
Yeah. Like I'm driving a BMW 750. It's a beautiful machine. That's my happy place is in the car. And so that's also an investment in my business, which is pretty cool, is that whenever I drive in the car, what I do is that's where I listen to audiobooks and podcasts. And so I'm learning while I'm driving, and then I'm hardwiring the experience of learning into the physical kinesthetic action of driving. So anytime I'm at the wheel of a car, my brain starts to open up, right? So that's a big thing for me. Travel is really the big thing for me. I get the freedom to travel. I get the freedom to go and be in nature when I want to. I can wake up when I want to. If I want to sleep in, I can. I can go to the gym and work out whenever I want to. I can meditate. I can practice yoga whenever I want to. I don't have to worry about, like, I can buy what I want. For me, growing up poor, that was always one of my own personal pain points, was that, I was always told there's not enough. I was told we can't get that. You can't have that. And, it's not, for me, it's not a huge materialistic thing. I don't personally draw a line between the material side and the spiritual side of life, or whatever you want to call that side. To me, it's whole. It's like I feel like our existence in the physical world is an expression of our soul, of our spirit. And so for me, aligning with, physical experience has actually been one of the most spiritual things I've ever done. I grew up, and growing up, I had a lot of exposure to yoga and meditation and all that kind of stuff, but I had poverty. So for me, being able to go out and buy new clothes, being able to buy a nice car, being able to fly across the world and go on a vacation, that's one of my greatest joys for myself. And another one is the time, not having to trade my time for money at a job I don't like, for someone who doesn't respect me. And that never resonated with me. That was always one of the most soul-crushing experiences of my life, is going into work at jobs that sucked, that I just, it just wasn't me. So now I never have to do that again if I don't want to. Which is funny, because I've recently decided to take up a job. I'm going to start driving Uber, but again, that's like I'm in the pilot seat there. So that was something I realized I wanted to create an income stream that was on demand right away. With the marketing work, a lot of money comes and goes, but it's on a particular date. So the freedom to start a side hustle for me, which is a more physical practice of just, driving a car, driving people around from place A to B, that's something that is a freedom that I have now too, is I can do the different things I want. If I want to start a project here, if I want to stop and do a painting, if I want to open up an art gallery, which is something I'm planning for this spring, I can do that. If I need money for a project, all I got to do is figure out how much do I need and how much work do I have to do, how much traffic do I have to drive, how much money do I have to put into the machine, and how long will it take before I get the return, and then I can use those financial resources to apply them to whatever projects I want to do. And another big thing for me is being able to help other people out, being able to take other people and give them experiences that they never believed they could have. Recently, I flew back out to Las Vegas for a personal growth workshop, ran into you there. And
Mhm.
I was able to bring a friend of mine out to this experience who, um, I'm not going to mention any names, but this friend of mine told me, like, wow, I never would do something like this for myself. I would never invest this kind of money. I would never stay in a luxurious hotel like this. And so it was really a joy for me to be able to take someone and say, hey, look, there's this abundance in life, and here's a taste of it, and you can experience it. And in experiencing that abundance, you're a better person. The world becomes a better place. You can take that feeling with you, and you can share that with other people and help them to allow the prosperity and abundance and alignment into their own lives. And ultimately, I think that's the greatest gift that this has given me is the awareness and the experience that in getting what I want out of life, it makes the world a better place, and it helps other people do the same for themselves too.
That's I don't even know what to say to that. Like, profound, dude. That's one of the best realizations I've ever heard anybody say. It's a true win-win, and that's so great to hear, dude. Let me ask you, what do you think? Not what do you think, but what does your next 5 years look like using these skills?
Hmm. This is exciting. Okay, so in the next year, my goal is to break into the real estate industry. As I mentioned before, I want to open up these resorts and retreat centers. And so this spring, I aim to open up an art gallery, an event space here in Toronto that is a place where we can throw events, we can teach yoga classes, we can hang art on the walls, we can play music in the evenings. And that's always been a lifelong dream of mine, is to have sort of a space where people can come and gather. So that's a more immediate goal within the next couple of months. And over the course of the next year, I aim to buy a turnkey operation, a retreat center down in Costa Rica. It's already operational and fully staffed. And so I have a partner who I'm planning on going in on this project with, and that will be our flagship resort and healing center. So that's the course of this year. And then over the next 5 years, my goal is to really scale my business to the point where I can become a philanthropist. And so right now I'm an entrepreneur, but I want to call myself a philanthropreneur.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like, why am I doing this entrepreneur thing? Why do I want to make millions? And I'm just going to go ahead and say billions of dollars. I want to make billions of dollars because I see that the people who have the ability to solve the real big problems of the world are the Bill Gateses and the people like that who really are out there putting money to work for them and putting money to work for the world and changing things. So over the course of the next 5 years, my goal is to significantly scale my income into the hundreds of millions, so I can start investing in money in people, investing money in projects, planting trees. So that's a goal of mine, is that over the course of my life, I aim to plant at least 1 million fruit-bearing trees or food-bearing trees that will feed generations to come. And so this year, I'm probably looking at starting to plant trees in various different locations in people's land. But the next 5 years is get into real estate and start opening up these spaces, start creating something where creating this sort of like a container where people can come to and share information and share experiences with one another, so that we can sort of cross-pollinate and take that back out into the world. So next 5 years, the big goals are going to start to crystallize.
That's awesome, dude. Your 5 year plan is a little bit similar to mine. I don't know if you've heard the plan. I've talked about it a couple of times. The warehouse with the offices. So it's kind of like that hub for creation, real estate. And you definitely have to let me know when you get that place in Costa Rica. I'd love to come down there and use that facility, take the whole family down, relax, do some yoga, get ourselves centered and right again. Definitely let me know when you kick that off, because we'll be down there, man.
Absolutely, I will. And I'm going to have something special planned for friends in the community. I want to create like a little incubator where we can get together and share some skills, and also take a step away from the computer. That's one of the things that can be when you work online, you're kind of attached to your computer and your phone, and that's to take a step away so that you can come back with fully charged from from some time away. So that's something I'm going to be planning as soon as we do get the spaces. I'm going to create some kind of an experience and invite you all out to come and
Awesome. Yeah.
have a little vacation together.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That'd be great. And you hit it, man. It becomes a necessity to unplug. We spend a lot of time with electronics, a lot of time looking at screens, and you need that balance. So it is good to unplug and come back, fresh, rejuvenated. So yeah, man, cannot wait. That's going to be awesome. I love getting together with this community anyway. So anytime we can do that, I'm always in. I'm actually going out to headquarters, AWOL HQ in Vegas. I leave Tuesday. I'll be out there for the week. So
Nice.
anytime
I was going to be there, but things got a little bit tight. I've been traveling too much, and I need to get back to the lab and reinvest in the process, right? So
right on, yeah.
But have fun out there.
I get it, dude. I get it. I'm a firm believer. If I stop moving forward, I feel like I'm just gonna die. So I'm like constantly looking for ways to expand, grow, and learn more. No doubt about it. But actually, wow, this hour flew by. We only have, maybe another less than 10 minutes left in an hour. So I do like to close out the episode in a certain way. So it's a two-part question. The first question is, if there's anybody who's on the fence about getting started in the online space, starting their own online business and really kind of, taking that leap into this industry, what would you say to that person? And then the second part of that question is, that person just took that leap in, they're brand new, they have all this information in front of them, literally, we know what's possible with it. What would you tell that person so that they don't get overwhelmed and they can truly set themselves up best for success?
Okay. This is a great question. I love it. Okay. So the first person, if you're on the fence, not sure what to do, do I jump in? Do I turn around? I would ask them to zoom out and to fast forward to the end of their life. You're on your deathbed. You're looking back across the life that you've lived. And I would ask them, are you going to regret that choice? Are you going to look back at an opportunity that you had? And when you're dying, ask yourself, what could have been? Imagine all that could have been possible if I had faced my fear and moved past it and taken that risk. I'm a firm believer that it's better to regret things that we've tried than to regret not trying things. And so that's what I would say to that person is look forward into your future when you're going to die, and look back on your life and say, wow, what could that have decision made for me? It's not right for everybody, but I think that the worst case scenario for someone who jumps in, maybe they realize it's not for them, they can still go back. So for the next person who's jumped in, you've jumped in. Don't look back. Don't look back. Look forward. Keep going forward. No matter what happens, pre-commit yourself to success. Pre-commit yourself to solving all of the problems, because there will be problems. There will be challenges. And depending upon how you look at it, it's either an obstacle or it's an opportunity. And that's about you. That's about your perspective. So move forward. Once you've jumped in, you committed, and just make it happen.
Awesome. There's a saying that I tell the students that I coach and help with marketing. I never ask them what their current problem is. I say, what solution are you looking for today?
Ooh, that's good.
Because we don't look at it as a problem, because everything has a solution. And the minute we can switch from, shit, this is a problem, oh man, I have an issue, to what's the solution? What solution is going to get me to where I need to be? As soon as we switch that, what solution are you looking for today? It's something as simple as not asking about a problem. Just the wording you can use can switch someone from all of a sudden being stuck in a rut and not knowing what to do to being like, oh shoot, like there's solutions. There's a way to get out of this. It's so crazy. Just that little like wording switch.
Yeah.
But yeah. Nuts. Arjan, thank you so much. For those of you who don't know, this is actually Arjan and I's third time doing this interview. The first time audio cut out on us. Second time, first time it was the video that cut out on us. Second time it was the audio that didn't come through. So this time we're going to be able to deliver, your story and your value to everybody. And I really appreciate you going through all that with me to finally be able to show you, to deliver you to the internet space.
Wonderful. Thanks, Chris. It was a real pleasure. Always an honor and a pleasure to share time and space with you. And, thanks to everybody who's tuning in. Chris is a really great guy, and I highly recommend his channel. He's doing a lot of big things for people. So, stay tuned. And if you're out there and you're watching and you want to contact me too, go ahead and hit me up on social media, on Instagram, Facebook. My name's just Arjan Namdev on Instagram. It's got an underscore in between my first and last name. I'm always happy to connect with people too. So thanks.
I'll be sure to put that into the descriptions as well so they can reach out to you.
Cool.
And, like we were talking about in the beginning of this interview, if you're worried about how you're going to find the fundings to do this, I would definitely reach out to Arjan. He's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on right now with that, and he's going to be able to best guide you, whether he can or can't. He's going to be very honest with you, like you said, and he's going to tell you, your best options moving forward. So, if the one thing that's stopping you right now is the fact that you can't get the funds to put the initial investment in to then scale it out and really, live the life you want, then I would definitely recommend, reaching out to Arjan and, just kind of having that conversation and seeing how that looks for you.
Yeah, that's a solution. There's an easy solution to that. Basically pretty much anybody can get approved for funding. It's a bit of a process, but we can get you the funds you need to launch. So don't hesitate to reach out.
All righty.
Awesome. Take care, Chris. It was great to see you.
Thank you, brother. And we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
To you, the viewer, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this interview. If you liked it, please hit that like button and do me a favor and comment the one thing that was talked about during this interview that really resonated with you. Also, if you have any other questions that haven't been answered yet throughout the interview series, please put them in the comments as well, and I will be sure to ask them on future interviews. And as always, if you're looking for this information as it's dropping and don't want to miss any value, definitely hit the subscribe button so you can get it fresh as it's coming out. And as always, there will be a link in the description section of this video so you can get started today learning the skills of digital marketing and set yourself free, just like the people I'm interviewing and myself. So until next week, peace.